a hybrid section. So the hybrid section is in person, but I'm giving everyone the option, as long as we wear a mask, you can come in person because a lot of us learn better in person. So this is Introduction to Social Welfare. I'll introduce myself and you guys can introduce one another. My name is Dr. Jonathan Trouth. I have been a social worker now for actually 20 years, which is like shocking to me. It makes me feel a little bit old, but I had my first baby a year ago, and she was a little 6.5 pound girl, and then next year, well, in May, I guess in 3.5 months, I have a boy coming, and I'll be 43 for him, so I'll be kind of an old dad, which is okay with me. I'll be 60 when they finish high school. I did my undergraduate in psychology and theology, a master's in social work, and then a doctorate in counseling. I've worked at Claremont Recovery Center, which was addictions recovery, and then Lighthouse Youth Services in Cincinnati. Any Cincinnatians in here? Yes. Which high school did you go to?
I went to Eagles.
Okay, yeah. Are they close to University of Cincinnati?
Yeah, they right across the street.
That's what I thought. So I was at Teachers College, which was like right next door to the law school, which I think is right by Hughes. They had a garden on the side that I loved at that high school because we did a lot of horticulture therapy and stuff. So this class is interesting because we go from like, in a few chapters, you go from like ancient history of like Judaism and Hinduism and what they did to take care of the poor, all the way up to like Christianity, Islam, and even Buddhism for more modern times. But our focus is going to be like the social welfare policy of the United States of America, ultimately. So if whoever wants to start first, if you guys want to introduce yourselves, and
I guess I'll go first.
sure.
Hi, my name is Selena Lopez. I'm a freshman here at Central. I want to do clinical psychology for my career choice in life. And even though it's a long path, I really do look forward to doing it.
Welcome. Anybody else?
I'm Mariah, and everybody's calling me Mo. I'm a freshman, and I'm doing a training.
Oh, law school. Cool. That sounds awesome. Well, welcome. You want to go?
My name's Autumn. I'm a sophomore, and my major is intervention specialist.
Is that an education department?
Yeah, so
Oh.
it's basically a special education teacher, but I work one-on-one with kids with special needs and create IEPs.
Awesome. Okay. It almost sounds like stuff that we would do. When I worked at Lighthouse Youth Services, I worked with a lot of schools that had the IEPs and like special needs program. People keep asking if we're online or in person. So I always will be in person because it's a hybrid. Sometimes we might finish up quickly. And all the work will be turned in online. And, you know, there is like a few major assignments, but then like a discussion board every week where you guys reply to everybody. So that's kind of the attendance taker. And you can reply to the YouTube video too for attendance. So you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name is Kawhi Thompson, and I'm a major in agriculture inside of business.
Agriculture. That's awesome. So do you actually get in the field, or would it be business agriculture where you like?
Mainly, so far, I've only been taking business class. I'm assuming that it started like probably next year.
Okay, because we do have a pretty big garden area around here, but I haven't found it yet. I've only been here. I taught a few years at Northern Kentucky University, 2.5 years at Miami University, and I've been here now 3 semesters. This is my 4th semester at Central State. So anyway, do you guys have any questions to start off before we get into some of these? You've got your syllabus. Can everybody get into Schoology? That would be that's a big one. So you're able to get into Schoology.
Right now.
No, you don't have to do it now, but you're welcome to. And I had, so for our attendance, you know how they had you do attendance for student loans, you got your discussion board for the first week. And that was due last week. we'll have a few more discussions. The first paper really is not due until the end of next month, which sounds like a long, long time away. At the same time, because it's a short month of February, it's only 28 days. It's actually closer, about 4.5 weeks away is the first paper. I kind of already did the first PowerPoint here. I wanted to get into the second one. This is where I was talking about. We have kind of the history and ideas of like social welfare and like service to others. So in the past, and this is going way back, like who do we take care of? Who do we feed? Who do we give housing to? Who do we help out? And the first few chapters kind of get into, who is worthy, who's judged as evil. So that's where this first slide is, the modern views of humanity. So people judged as evil, result of acts of commission, which is like a crime if you hurt somebody or steal their things or kill them, or a crime of action, or an act of omission. So in the old days, they would say like being lazy or being unproductive was, pretty bad. This is like views from thousands of years ago. So we kind of also then got into theories of the motivations of humans. So in self-actualization, a universal set of basic impulses to satisfy ascending sets of needs. And I remember when I was a freshman, I would always wonder, like, what the heck are they talking about with this stuff? Like, what are they? And they're kind of getting into, should we be handed everything that we are living with in life? Like, should I get a nice house and a nice car, or should I work hard for it? You know what I mean? It's like that debate between, should I just be given this? And if I had rich parents, I'd get a cool inheritance to be able to, like, keep a nice house and a nice car, but they almost even get into the morality of work in the first place. So response to irritation, this was an idea that if you lived an uncomfortable life, it will motivate you to strengthen your efforts to succeed. How do you guys feel about that? Like if you grow up in a challenging space, do you think you'll be motivated to work harder, to like earn money too? You think it would go the same for everybody, or that might just be like you're right? I know. So I was sharing with you, were the first one in class, and I said I lived in El Salvador and Nicaragua for a couple years when I finished my psychology degree, and that was in 1999 and 2000, a long time ago. And the poverty there is different than the poverty in the United States. I don't know how to explain it. Like, has anybody here been outside of the country?
No, my grandma was born in Mexico, so.
Okay. So she maybe has talked to you about it before?
Yeah.
And she's like, y'all got it good in America. Okay. Because that's kind of like what they would tell me in El Salvador and Nicaragua. Like we had usually, well, it was like a tin can. It was like a metal house with like a metal roof, and they usually had like a little opening in the top. It was so hot, you wanted the heat to go out of the top. We had some chickens in the backyard. The host family that I lived with, she owned what was called a comedor, and a comedor is like a cantina, like a place to buy food. She would sell lunches, and she actually used banana leaves as a plate. Like those big banana leaves you see there, which was cute. And at the same time, it was like out of necessity. Like she didn't have money to buy paper plates. She didn't have money to work with others and serve others. Hello, welcome. How are you? How y'all doing? Good. We just got done introducing ourselves. So if you guys want to introduce yourselves. Did you take your steps?
Yeah.
Oh boy. That could be a rough one.
I'm Carolyn.
Carolyn?
Mm-hmm.
And what grade, what semester, what major?
I'm a freshman, and my major is computer science.
Okay, welcome. And you?
My name's Kiana. I'm a social work major and I'm a freshman.
Okay, welcome. Class of 2024, right?
Mm-hmm.
You guys are done for real in a few years and a few months. Isn't that crazy? It seems like faster than you would think. But so we were just kind of getting into, and I do the video recording because I also have the online section of the class. Chapter 2 and kind of motivation and theories about work. And we're answering the question about response to irritation. Living an uncomfortable life will motivate people to stronger efforts to succeed. And we were just saying, do you think that's true for everyone? Like if you grow up with more poverty around you, are you more motivated to work harder and like earn a living, or does it make it harder to like get involved in the first place? Like if your local school isn't the best or something. What do you guys think?
I think it depends on the person.
Okay. I think you're right. I think it could go both ways. Like I've seen it where in Cincinnati we have some good schools and we have some bad schools. Would you agree with that? He put a smile on his face with that. We got some I went to Purcell Marion High School, so I was just like 3 miles away from you at Hughes. And I do remember getting into college, and I don't know if my high school was college preparatory, because I got into college and I was like, crap, what am I getting myself into? This is crazy hard. So I had to really adjust quickly. I think my freshman year, I struggled kind of and didn't have the best of grades, but turned it around. Hello.
Hi.
Welcome. How are you?
I'm good.
Good. We all just got done introducing ourselves, so if you two want to introduce yourselves and grade and majors, then.
I'm Shakira Heston. I'm a sophomore. I'm a social work major. I'm from Toledo, Ohio.
Okay, welcome. Go ahead.
My name is Malia Smith. I'm a business major. I'm from Akron, Ohio.
Awesome, welcome. So you guys are like from the other two sides of the top of the state, like Akron and Toledo. Or if you're looking Akron and okay. Cool. Awesome. Well, so yeah, kind of social welfare policy, as we were getting into it, like in the US, we have lots of different policies and we serve. It started out as early as, hundreds of years ago, but like food for the poor, like soup kitchens, food pantries. We now have it spread out to housing and different, Section 8 pieces to be able to help folks. And that is one of the social work assistance programs. Like there's a lot of jobs in social work to serve people. And, that chair is terrible. So getting to this question one more time, living an uncomfortable life will motivate people to stronger efforts to succeed. So that's kind of the debate. Like if I grew up with a tougher upbringing, am I going to be more motivated to work hard and get a good job? Or does it make it harder to get into the schools and move towards the areas that I need to in order to succeed? So it's begging the question. These first few chapters are definitely spanning like hundreds of years, so bear with me for a second, but it's kind of getting to like, why do we help people in the first place? Maybe I should throw that out to you guys. Like, why would we want to feed a hungry person or serve others? You know what I mean? Like, what's the motivation? Does it come from like a spiritual belief or like just humanist, that you want to help people out? You don't want to see people suffer? Yeah, go ahead.
I think if it just becomes from literally where, like, before modern times, like way back when we first emerged as humans, the way to help you survive is help others survive. That way group survival is stronger and everyone grows at the same time, therefore equaling everyone's survival rates.
Mhm.
That's my
Yeah, it's a tough one to describe. And so when I lived in Latin America, and I've revisited, I've only been there 3 years ago, most recently. I used to go back like every 2 years, and just like I learned a lot by living in Latin America and learned some Spanish, but not enough. And some of the habits that they had down there, I kind of picked up, like planting my own fruit trees and growing my own tomatoes and peppers and stuff in the summer. I don't know if any of y'all's parents have a garden or considered it, but way back when, especially in these times before this, they're talking about BC, so before Christ. This is like, 1000 BC. We did survive better in packs. And finding ways, sometimes you got to give it away and learn how to help someone out who's in need. And there might be a time when we're actually in need, like there might be a time when I get into a horrible car accident and cannot work. And if there wasn't somebody hooking me up or taking care of me, I would be in we would be in trouble. We would have challenges to feed the family or pay for our bills. Hello, welcome. So, human motivation has said if humans only work for economic gain, it supports a punitive approach to poverty. So if I'm only working to make a whole lot of money, if that's all I wanted to do was like amass material wealth, there's nothing wrong to work hard for money, but if that's like the sole and only reason, it could support that punitive approach to poverty. It says it makes less eligibility inevitable. What they're narrowing it down to, though, is that someone on welfare cannot make as much as the lowest paid employed person. And sometimes you'll see the debate in society like, well, we're paying out too much in welfare because then you don't have the motivation to work. So often when we do receive welfare, they keep it under that about, I don't even know the exact amount, but maybe $8,000 a year, which would be, somebody help me do the math. Is that $680 a month or something like that? But if you worked, then you could, did the minimum wage go up this year? Somebody should. It was $7.50, and now isn't it? Did it go up in Ohio? What did it go up to? Right. So it was like $7.50 or $7.80. Oh, is it at 8 now? Okay. Because when I started working, it was $4.25 an hour, and it was terrible because I didn't make much money for sure. But the idea being like, if you can sit around and not work, and somebody's going to give you $10,000 a year, which we're kind of getting with our new pandemic checks. Did anybody get that pandemic money last year or the beginning of this year, or do your parents all get it?
You can get it too at the time.
It depends if you like worked and paid your own taxes. Okay, right. So again, we'll get into that discussion later on. That was exciting to get that check, but the thing that worries me about that is that how much is bread going to be in a few months, or how much is like gasoline or like milk or basic needs, So that's the idea of monetary inflation. But so we're throwing out this again. Someone on welfare cannot make as much as the lowest paid employed person. That's kind of how they've derived some of their policy. Another economics and human motivation. The social motives serve as the engine for society and individuals. So assistance to the poor cannot be based on our social responsibility to them. The poor would realize society holds them as valued. So this is something that, again, if I think that I can do no work and sit around and always get something good. If I'm playing video games all day and, I'm blazing out my room or hotboxing my car, drink, doing whatever, just chilling all day, not even going into work, there has to be some motivation to work. You know what I mean? Like, even if the minimum wage is like I work a few jobs and I can amass wealth in a way that I can buy a better car or buy a better apartment or house or something of that nature. So that's kind of where their baseline is. I know there's debates for universal basic income recently. Have you guys heard about this? They want to give all of us about $10,000 or $12,000 a year to live off of. Which sounds awesome, right? Like, heck yeah, give me that $1,000 a month. Tax it if you want. I don't care. It's free money. Again, though, the concern for me would be if the base is now $12,000 where it used to be $0, does that mean, to buy the basic goods of food, water, shelter, and housing, are those all going to go up by $12,000 a year? So, like, that's where the monetary inflation comes in. So it'll be exciting to get the free money, but if you just print money, which is kind of what we're doing, it's paper dollars, so they print it off, And if they can print it with no asset backing it, it kind of devalues how much the dollar is worth. So like that dollar that used to buy me a loaf of bread, now it only buys me 2 pieces of bread to make a grilled cheese sandwich. So that's kind of where, again, the ideology is coming from, and our ideas of how do we help people. For some, again, it is a spiritual approach. Like we want to, we decide that the person is created in the likeness and image of God. Like we all have God in us, like we've all come from the creation from thousands of years ago. So we want to all, we're all interconnected and we serve each other. So that's altruism. Here is an act that confers a benefit on someone at the cost of the other. So like in church, have any of you heard of tithing before? Like you give your 10% tithe, like no matter how much you make, even if when I was in grad school, I only made about $11,000 a year because I was in grad school. So you get like $1,100. And then when you become a big rich professor, you can give about $4,000 away a year. So that's kind of a bad joke. So the mutual aid is people assisting each other, and that's also called reciprocal altruism. Like, again, why do we serve people in need? Why do we pay for people's food and take care of them? And before the U.S. had a lot of policy that we'll get into, Chapter 5 and Chapter 6 gets into U.S. policy. For the first 5 chapters, though, it is history of why we helped one another. In the old days, it really was just churches that gave people food. So they had the soup kitchens at the churches. They had the food pantries. And like the 1200s in Italy, they had the St. Francis Society where they would serve people. So these are some words that you don't have to memorize, but it's good to know. So way back in Egypt, the pile system was work sharing. It was a device in which a person performed his duties for only a limited part of each year. So maybe it was the harvest season, like you would come work, why we had school off from May until, when is the first day of school? August? It was September at UC for a while. And you might only work from May until August or May until September. When possible, the state was the great provider. So in Egypt, they had a system where they would store grains and you would get ready for the winter time. And you'd have enough food to live through the winter time. I don't know how cold it gets in Egypt, but I would say the production times, like based off of the old days when all there was food, water, shelter, and, maybe some other things, but how we would keep one another alive. So there was communal institutions for the poor. They had the Tomhu. It was a communal soup kitchen, or the Kapa. It's a communal charity funded that provided weekly grants to the resident poor. So again, it was kind of a spiritual belief that like you can't just watch your brother suffer and die of hunger and like you're eating a feast every day. So it was kind of rooted in a spiritual ideology, like you're created in the likeness and image of God. I'm created in the likeness and image of God. I'm going to take care of you. I might get hurt next year and not even be able to work. Hopefully you'll return that favor. That's kind of where they're going. Some other ideologies. So does anybody know how old Judaism is by chance? It's one of our oldest religions. This time.
Sorry.
It's okay. The oldest religion is Hinduism. Anybody know how old Hinduism is? It started in like India, where we went with Miami University's special work program last year. So Hinduism is like 6,000 or 7,000 years old, like way, way, way back when. Judaism, I feel like, is about 5,000 years old. And that's where like the first 5 books of the Bible came from. You know how they have the like, what are those called? Is that the Torah? Am I even doing that? So Judaism and Christianity and Islam all are the Abrahamic religions. So they all share the first 5 books of the Bible. Hinduism and Buddhism are more Eastern religions that they had these same ideas here. So Judaism based its requirements for altruism on 2 concepts. The Zaduka, a mixture of charity and justice. And I don't want to pronounce that anybody want to try to pronounce that word number 2? Because I'm afraid. I want to just say it's cheesed, but it's probably like chized and it's loving kindness. So again, like I'm not going to watch dude freezing out on the street and I got a little warm space in my house. I could at least give him like firewood and a freaking one of my chickens so he can eat for the night. So that's kind of, the communal ideas for the poor. It was from charity, justice to loving kindness. So we're getting into our ideas, like where does this idea of like service to others come from? In Cincinnati, if we're walking downtown, you ever been asked for money in Cincinnati? Yeah. So I had a friend who liked to say the trick is you got to ask him for money before he asks you for money. And I'm like, that's messed up, dude. I don't know if I want to do that. Like, hey, you got $1? And I don't think that works either. So the idea, again, being service to others, finding ways to feed, house, and, even clothe others at St. Leo's Food Pantry, which is, we're right off the Hopple Street exit. At our food pantry, we also do clothing and even some baby food, diapers, formula. And this is getting into early Christianity. So does anybody know when Christianity began? That's another fun, good question. What year did Christianity begin? Because the dates used to be BC and then AD. So I think that our dates are almost like, is it 2021? And then Jesus died in like 33. Anybody know the history of Christianity? So like Jesus came, was born in Jerusalem, and then he like prophesied. We don't know where he was for like 20 some years. And then there's 3 years in the Gospels. They write about him in Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Some people say he went over to India. And basically Christianity started the modern era of our dates. So like he only lived to about 33 years of age. And then after Easter, which is when he was crucified and resurrected, that's where they got early Christianity. So it's been around for about 2,000 years around. So in early Christianity, they had motives for work. And this is interesting. They said Christians should not be a burden to others, and resources should be obtained to help the needy. And then non-Christians should be favorably impressed to commend the faith to them. Anybody go to church in here? Not that you have to. It's just, it helps you understand some of these. So the idea of the gospel, which is like, feed the hungry, visit the imprisoned, serve the poor. That's where a lot of this ideology is coming from. In early Christianity, there are 3 abiding gifts, and that was faith, hope, and love, and the greatest is love. So again, getting back, it's almost the same as the Jewish one, where they said loving kindness was how we would take care of our neighbor. Now we're getting into China. Anybody know what religion is practiced in China? Buddhism. That's it. So there was fiefdom, and that was that the peasants worked on the land to support their superiors. They were attached to the land and bestowed along with the land, were also given land for the use of their own families. So they could have a little acre here and grow peach, pear, plum, blueberries, blackberries, asparagus, tomatoes, maybe some chickens. China just bought the largest amount of soy and corn from the United States ever last year. So there is supposedly a food shortage in 2021, which might have started with the pandemic. So in the old days, China, they had ideologies, and then India. Anybody know anything about India or China? There's 1.5 billion people in both China and India. So there's 3 billion total people in China and India. And then do you guys know what the world population is? If you were to take a guess? That's it. Yep. It is pushing 7.5 billion. So China and India alone are half the world population. And India's half the size of the United States. So it is crowded. And all the Indian religions, this would be Islam and Hinduism are the two major religions in India. And again, we're just working up to why social policy is the way that it is today. And it's very similar. India is a democratic republic nowadays, so they're the largest democracy in the world. But way back when, all Indian religions have emphasized charity. The responsibility for those needing assistance was shared by all. So again, put into the large honey pot. So if people needed food in India, you can grow food almost year round, and they would serve folks. It is hot as heck over there. When I visited, it was 117 Fahrenheit. The zakat was a poor tax paid by every Muslim, and then the dharmasalas were public places of provision for those in need. So again, that's like their churches and areas where they had a food pantry and a soup kitchen, and they would, again, keep people hungry. They still have a caste system over in India. Have you guys heard of that before? And that's like, like they still have like levels of high esteem and low esteem, like based off of your family heritage, which that's almost gone away, but it's still present in India, which is kind of shocking. Now, Islam, anybody familiar with Islam? When it started, but the Prophet Muhammad took the first 5 books of the Bible, which is like Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, and Deuteronomy. And he started Islam, and I think it was around, this we might have to Google or Wikipedia. It was like 500 or 600 AD. So there was, among the requirements of Islam is the obligation to give charity. So again, one of the 5 major world religions, again, they're saying your requirement to be a spiritual person is you help out the poor. So every single major religion, that's kind of the point of this boring lecture that you guys get to sit through. Like, dude, I'm done with the religions. Thanks for telling me. But so every major religion wants you to feed people, give people housing, and take care of them, like empower people to empower themselves, which is where our thoughts from social work came from. It requires giving up a portion of wealth. Again, it's like a tithe in excess of what is personally needed. So this purifies what one retains. So if you make $30,000 a year, you give away $3,000. Hurts like hell to give away that $3,000 though. You're like, dude, I really don't want to this year. Islam also has the sadaqah as the distribution of a quantity of grain to the poor. So you could, as your tithe, give food away to the poor, which is actually kind of cool. So nowadays we have you guys ever do a canned food drive? That's kind of similar to what this is describing. Or you can give its monetary equivalent for members of a household that end at the end of Ramadan. And so Ramadan is like the holy set of 30 to 40 days in the practice of Islam, where you fast, you only eat, I'm trying to remember, I think you fast from sun up to sundown. So you actually don't eat right now until sundown's at like 6 p.m. today. You can eat at 6. I think sunrise is like 7 a.m. So you can't eat from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. That's Ramadan, and recognizing when the Prophet Muhammad did what he did, writing the scriptures. Waqf, and I can't pronounce that one either, is giving property to the Islamic State for pious works or public good. So again, giving away, this would be more for like housing and or growing food for people. So what are the basic needs that we need to stay alive as human individuals? Anybody want to blurt it out? What do you need to stay alive every day? What's that? Yep, this is a big one. Like 4 of these a day is what I try to drink. But a warm house and a full belly. That's usually the way I break it down. If you got a warm house and a full belly every day, you're going to live until tomorrow. Just very basic, simple. And full belly of water is a big part of it. Hydration is huge. And that, believe it or not, takes us to the end of this lecture. So you guys didn't even have to fall asleep. But what do you think about that? The 5 major religions and their ideas of service to others. And I can get into our paper that is due next month, but as of right now, it's just discussion boards until the big paper is due. And you can pick any of the social welfare topics from Medicare to Medicaid to, you could even write something about the coronavirus relief last year. That was a social policy that happened and we all got a check. Any questions on that one? We're going to get into self-care here at the end of the week because I am huge. Every class you take with me, you'll hear me talking about this self-care PowerPoint because you will not make it through college or graduate school or anything without doing self-care and doing things. And so that's kind of what the discussion board is in the next several days. You've got to take care of yourself so you can take care of others. So as a social worker or a psychologist or an educator or a criminal justice major, you can't take care of other people till you take care of yourself. So I'm big on self-care. I got blowed up, didn't I? Like, where are you at? What classroom are you in? What's the time of the, any questions on those at this point? Or the syllabus or what we're doing for, there's a few major assignments in this class now too. So discussions every week and then the 3 major assignments to get you guys on to the next level. How many social work majors are in this class? 3, sweet. Okay, cool. And then it's awesome to have everybody else because we need a good mixture of everybody. I'll still try to convince you to add social work as a double major because you'll get a license right at the end of your school. 2024, you can get a license in social work if you have a bachelor's in social work. And it's only 1 year to get a master's in social work because our program is fully accredited by Council on Social Work. So these are all the PowerPoints. I'm only going to do 1 a week, but I could crush through all 6 chapters right now if you guys want me to. No, this is a hybrid class. That means we end early. So that way you have some time to think about the discussion board. And I have to go to physical therapy for my knee. I might have to get surgery on my knee here. I'm an old man. And my second baby's coming in 3 months. If I can't run and walk when 2 babies under 1 are running around our house, I'm in big trouble with my wife. She's like, if you get surgery, you better get it before this damn baby's born. It's a lot of work. No questions, huh? Yeah.
For the textbook, is it required or is it optional?
I never tell you guys what to do, but if you need to like borrow one or buy the old one, are you a social work major?
Yes.
It would help you for like the licensure exam.
Okay.
But I will put up all the PowerPoints and you'll have access to everything. If you needed to borrow, I'll try to keep like a communal book because I know how expensive these stupid things are. It gets really expensive. I get it. So I'm not going to tell you what to do. It will be helpful, but you'll have all the PowerPoints too.
And that's for both classes, like for each other, so this class and then.
Yeah, I would always say try to find a way to get access to everything that you can, but I won't tell you what to do.
I'm just making sure because I want to get the book. So thank you.
Right. Yeah. It'll help you on the policy stuff, but you guys can probably find most of this stuff online now too. And if you've got all of the PowerPoints, I won't tell you what to do. It's totally your choice how you want to roll with it. You won't be penalized, but it's got a lot of good stuff. It's kind of a good looking book. It's cute. I bet you it's $100 though. Do they rent them anymore? Really?
I even tried to look it up on Ohio Links.
Nothing. Well, because they make all their damn money off of it. So again, if you need to borrow it or if you want to take it and scan some stuff, you're allowed to like scan 10% for educational purposes only. So totally up to you guys. But I have to be in Cincinnati at 4:30. You think I'll make it?
Yeah.